Hey everyone, welcome to the third episode of A&E. I'm Brody.
I'm Luis.
I'm Magno.
So, it's been a pretty busy couple weeks since the last time we filmed. Everything in this is current as of the 19th of February up until the 4th of March, which is today. So let's get right to it. So on the 19th, an Amnesty International report accused the Venezuelan National Police's Special Actions Force of using social media to find anti-Maduro protesters and kill them. So the source claimed that the Special Actions Force tampers with evidence to make the killings look like they're self-defense. Dude, I mean that's crazy if that's true.
How do you tamper with video evidence?
Well, not like video evidence, like physical evidence. Yeah.
Okay, physical evidence.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, if that's true, I mean, do they really even have to tamper with the physical evidence? Who's going to go against them if that's true?
And the standard for socialism, suppress the opposition. So.
Alright, on the 20th, the Venezuelan Navy closed all the maritime borders with the Caribbean islands that surround the country in order to keep the humanitarian aid from entering. So there was humanitarian aid that entered the country from Colombia and Brazil on the 23rd, and we'll get into that a little bit later. A congressman from the United Socialist Party and former director of the Office of Military Intelligence, Hugo Carvajal, defected, or not really defected, but declared allegiance to Juan Guaido, and he urged the rest of the military to do the same. So he claimed that the government is full of corruption and drug trafficking. So this guy was the head of military intelligence from 2004 to 2011. He served in the military from 81 to 2011. The rank he achieved was general. He was a student of Hugo Chavez at the military academy in Caracas, and he joined Chavez in the 1992 coup attempt. He's accused by the Department of Treasury for assisting the FARC rebels in Colombia in drug trafficking and supplying them weapons, and he's wanted by Colombia for the torture and murder of 2 agents. So, that's kind of weird. I mean, you think this dude was a student under Hugo Chavez, joins him in a coup attempt, and now he's calling out Maduro. One thing to think about is this guy is a congressman for the United Socialist Party. So when he does this, is he breaking from Venezuelan socialism, or is he still a socialist, but he realizes what Maduro's doing? That's something to think about.
Yeah.
So, on the 21st of February, Maduro closed the borders with Brazil and Colombia to keep that humanitarian aid from coming in the country. In the town of Camaracapay, I'm sure I said that really wrong, but the Venezuelan National Guard actually fired on a bunch of protesters that were trying to block a convoy that was on the way to the border with Brazil. So at least 2 protesters and protesters were killed, 14 were wounded. Overall, the last week, at least 5 Venezuelan citizens were killed by the National Guard trying to keep the humanitarian aid from entering the country. So those when those guys got killed, more of them took to the streets and kidnapped 3 of the National Guardsmen.
Yeah, that's not going to end well for them.
Yeah, that's insane, dude. It's kind of like the same thing you saw with the Turkish, what we were talking about last time. Those Turkish soldiers that got kidnapped.
There's a video on Facebook of the the humanitarian aid, like it was lit on fire, and like the people were trying to salvage what was left.
Mm-hmm. So
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so these guard troops guard troops and some like counter protesters lit a lot of these trucks on fire in order to keep these people from getting like food and water and medicine. That's insane, dude. So, while all this was going on, there was a few National Guardsmen that were actually ramming through the barriers on the Simon Bolivar Bridge that connects Venezuela with Colombia. These dudes like rammed a bunch of barriers with like some armored vehicle, dude, and they injured a ton of people, dude, because these people were getting hit by the barriers that were flying everywhere, right?
Is there video of that?
Over. There is, yeah.
Yeah,
You can
I
look
have
it
not
up.
seen it.
Yeah.
Search that up.
So, a ton of National Guardsmen fled to Colombia. Anywhere from hundreds to thousands of citizens were trying to flee across Colombia, but a lot of them got stopped by the National Guard. At least one delivery of humanitarian aid made it through the Brazil border. But yeah, it sounds like most of it just ended up getting burned or turned back at the border. So there's a ton of videos being released by soldiers defecting and showing support to Guaido. Most of them are like junior enlisted, junior officer, NCOs, right? But yeah, little by little, you see Maduro kind of losing support of, like I said, junior enlisted, junior officers in the military, the people that are really affected by the crisis that's going on in the country, right? So, Maduro, while this is all happening, tried to expel all Colombia's diplomats from the country, just like he tried to do with the U.S. before he backtracked on it. But Colombia did the same thing we did, and they said, no, we're with Guaido, so we're not going to listen to you, whatever. Juan Guaido was out of the country. He was in Brazil and Colombia, basically trying to organize that humanitarian aid, and he was, trying to gain support, obviously, right, trying to rally people behind him. Maduro placed a travel ban on him, right? So there was talk about him maybe being arrested when he got back into Venezuela. Well, he just got back in the country today, and he didn't get arrested yet. But he's going around organizing more protests and stuff like that. So he's back in Venezuela and he's active again. So,
hey, didn't Carvajal got detained by U.S. officials at some point?
I thought I saw something about him getting detained by Colombia, but being let go, I think. It sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you want to look that up.
Yeah.
And let us know. So, on the 25th of February, Jorge Ramos, one of the Univision guys. He's like a Univision reporter.
I'm sure I've seen him before.
He goes on like CNN and stuff like that all the time, right? He's like one of their big reporters. So he traveled to Venezuela on the 25th to interview Maduro, and he was asking him a ton of hard questions, right? Stuff he didn't want to hear. And Maduro detained him and his team for like 2 hours, and he took like all their equipment and stuff. But like, dude, Maduro's. He just detains these guys because he doesn't like what he's hearing. So stupid, man. And he detained him for like 2 hours. He kept him for 2 hours and then he just let them go. Like, what was the point of all that?
Power show, maybe?
He's just being pissy.
Yeah.
Right? He's just being pissy. He doesn't like what he's hearing. He knows that a majority of the world knows what's going on in Venezuela under him, and yeah, dude.
Yeah, he got detained by the U.S. The U.S. Treasury said he had been protecting drug shipments from Colombian FARC rebels.
Mm-hmm. So he did get detained by the U.S.
Yeah.
So what happened?
At one point, something had to do with his diplomatic passport. That's why his arrest was illegal. That's what they said. So they just let him go.
Stupid. All right. So as of the 3rd, so yesterday, Colombia announced that at least 567 of both the military and national police of Venezuela have deserted to Colombia since the 23rd. So since the humanitarian aid started coming in. So that's an average of 63 guys a day. So you think about 2 platoons are deserting to Colombia every day. Now, again, a lot of those guys, NCOs, junior enlisted, junior officer, right? One thing to think about is, I mean, that's a lot of dudes, right? You know, 600 guys in a week and a half. Is Maduro losing the military? And can he replace these numbers, right? You got 2 platoons going over a day, average. Can you replace those numbers? Yes, he could replace those numbers. I think he can at least, right? Because he still has a majority of the military, and then he has all those civilian militias he was putting up. Now, do all those people support him? Probably not, in all honesty, right? A lot of these people that are filling these militia spots and like the National Police and the National Guard, you know, like I said, dude, I mean, junior enlisted, NCO, junior officer, they're the ones that are affected by the crisis, just like, you know, a random dude on the street who can't afford a piece of bread. You know what I mean? These guys they're not colonels, they're not generals.
Always heading west, right?
You know what I mean?
Colombia. They're always heading west. Colombia, mostly.
So the majority of the migrants are going to Colombia.
Yeah. So I think, one, he could easily replace these numbers, and 2, I'm not sure he's losing the military yet, because, yeah, sure, you know, like I said, most of these people are affected just like anyone else, but what does Maduro still have? Fear.
Yeah.
Fear. If you get caught deserting, yeah, I mean, you're probably going to get killed. At least that's what I think. Yeah. I mean, if not killed, maybe put in prison for the rest of your life if you're lucky. What do you think?
Oh, the way I see it, Maduro is definitely losing support, little by little. Just you see it with the numbers, and eventually he's gonna lose support of his whole military. Just not the higher ups, not that much, because they're probably living good. But the lower,
like military
definitely
coup, like the one in Turkey. I mean, if he's losing numbers, it's probably going to be slow.
In any military, the lower enlisted outnumber the higher ups.
Keep in mind, they still got support from like Russia, China.
True, Russia, China, Cuba.
Yeah.
I think that if we do end up seeing a situation like a coup, like you said, we'll see more higher ups going over to Guaido first, right? So you saw General Yanez with Air Force and a couple of the colonels that we talked about, right, going over to Guaido. I think before we see a coup, we're gonna have to see more colonels, more generals, right, more higher ranking officers going with Guaido, and then I think a lot of their troops will start to realize what's going on, and they'll feel like, they're not alone if they desert or if they participate in a coup. You know what I mean? If they see the type of behavior from their commanding officers, then they'll play along. But like I said, I think before we see anything like that, then those guys will have to defect first.
Yeah.
Yeah, because these guys are swearing allegiance to Guaido, but they're not staying in the country, man. They're going over to Colombia. Another thing to think about: these guys are going over to Colombia, right? I mean, I doubt they're all going off in their merry way. You know what I mean? They're probably together. They're probably forming their little communities. Bunch of army deserters. If if a coup happens, or let's say in the off chance that the U.S. gets involved, right? Are these guys going to come back over the Colombian border and start doing work against Maduro? I think that's really possible. But again, it'll either take U.S. military intervention or higher grade officers defecting before any of that happens. That's what I think, at least. Yeah. Any other comments on that?
I just read this little article that said over the past few years, 2.3 million people had left Venezuela. Most go to Colombia.
Yeah.
And it's averaging at 3,000 people a day, apparently.
Really?
Yeah. That's a lot of people.
What's the population of Venezuela? Can you look that up?
Yeah, I'll look it up.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
2.3 million people in how long again?
Yeah,
did you
said
say?
in the past few years.
It's a lot.
With Colombia
It's
taking
a lot
the most.
of people. That is a lot of people. So, while you look that up,
It's population right now, as of 32,600,000. 48,000, yeah.
as of when?
That is as of March 4th.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, as of
It's a lot of people.
yeah.
A lot of people leaving. Yeah, that's crazy. But as always, we will keep you guys up to date as far as that goes. We'll be making posts on the Instagram, right? We'll keep you guys up to date, and then obviously next time we film, I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about as far as this goes. So let's get on to the U.S. So on the 27th, the Pentagon formally sent a proposal to Congress for the creation of the Space Force. So the Space Force is expected to cost about $2 billion within the next 5 years, and also gain about 15,000 personnel. So those personnel are going to be a mix of uniformed military members and civilian workers. Support roles such as chaplains and medical stuff, like that kind of stuff, is probably going to come from the Air Force, which makes sense.
Why do they need a chaplain? Space Jesus.
Stupid. So a couple things that aren't clear yet is, are they going to have a boot camp? What would Space Force boot camp even be? Well, I mean, these guys, they're not going to be space shuttle door gunners, right? I mean, these guys are going to be sitting behind computers and looking at satellites. You know, I mean, pretty much what Air Force Space Command does, except they'll be the Space Force. So, I mean, are they going to have a boot camp? What would they even do in boot camp? Are they going to have recruiters? Are they going to have a Space Force Academy, like the Air Force has their own academy? Or are they just going to go to the Air Force Academy? A lot of that stuff's unclear. But this has obviously been a topic of discussion for the past year and a half, around there.
I can see the Space Force being a component of Air Force.
Yeah, well, I mean, so the Air Force has Space Command, right? So everything the U.S. military does that's space related falls upon them. So, a lot of people say, why create a separate branch? Just keep the Air Force Space Command. I don't really have an opinion on it either way. To be honest, I don't really know what to think. I mean, do you guys have opinions on that?
Dude, the most Space Force thing that I can think about is the SR-71 Blackbird. That's
for real.
That is the
But I mean, do you think the Air Force should be its own separate thing, or should it just be Air Force? Did I say Air Force or Space Force? I meant to say Space Force. Should the Space Force be its own separate thing, or should it just be Air Force Space Command?
It should be just a component of Air Force.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
All right.
It's not.
I'm kind of surprised. $2 billion. I mean, I think that's kind of lowballing it. Honestly, I thought it would be
for
more.
A Space Force. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, with a Space Force, you gotta have uniforms.
Well, I mean,
What's that
God,
gonna
are
look
these
like?
guys even going to have uniforms, right? Because it sounds like half of them are going to be civilians anyway.
Most of them.
So
are
maybe
civilians.
they'll just have dudes show up in slacks and a nice shirt.
Space Force thing is just probably gonna be NASA, armed NASA.
The big question is, if it's a Space Force, are they gonna have the same pay grade as the rest of the military?
I would imagine. I would imagine, yeah.
Would you join the Space Force to be paid as an E1?
Well, dudes join the SEALs, to get paid as E4s and E5s, I mean, they don't get extra pay besides special duty pay, hazard pay when they go on deployment, re-enlistment bonuses, but that's it, dude. I mean, they don't get extra base pay.
Yeah, true, but this Space Force, this is some next top tier
No, because they're
level
gonna
stuff.
spend it on logistic stuff. They're not gonna do. They don't care about paychecks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they'll get bonuses, right? Signing bonuses, re-enlistment bonuses, that kind of
That's
stuff.
about it.
But the base pay is going to be the same.
In terms of bait.
I mean, except for civilians. I'm sure the civilians are going to get paid a ton.
Contractors are gonna get paid a ton.
Yeah. All right. So, the governor of Alaska, Mike Dunleavy, offered to send guard troops to the border. Obviously, in conjunction with the border mission that the Department of Defense has going on. So, yeah, that's weird. A lot of people were saying, why is Alaska offering to send troops? And this guy was basically saying that what's going on at the border is affecting the whole country, including Alaskans. So, just adding a little context, I guess, and whether you believe that or not doesn't really matter. That's up to you. Just adding some context. Along with that, the governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, ordered guard troops home from the border. So, Wisconsin troops are leaving. Alaskan troops may be going. So, this brings up the question again with when we were talking about the movement of active duty troops, the deployment that just got announced. Are these guys filling National Guard spots? Are they filling new spots? Could Alaskan Guard guys be filling Wisconsin spots or spots for active duty troops? Everything's just moving along very fast. A lot of moving pieces, right? This state is offering to bring troops. This state is taking troops. It's just such a weird situation, right?
Oh yeah, not to mention the New Mexico too.
Well, yeah, New
Mexico,
yeah, right. New Mexico, California, and Wisconsin, at least.
I mean, hasn't every state pulled its troops from the border? Except for, has Texas done it?
No, Texas is still there.
Well,
I mean, the only states I know of are California, New Mexico, and Wisconsin. So there are other states that have troops at the border. I think I saw something about Alabama. Maybe I tried looking up a list of every state that had troops, and I couldn't really find one. But it's more than just Texas and Arizona at this point.
I would say for the most part, California border is it's pretty much heavily guarded. When it comes to border patrol too.
Well, it's Texas. Texas you got to worry about because that has the most landmass, right?
Not even just Texas. New Mexico. I know Arizona's pretty bad too.
Yeah.
New Mexico, Arizona, Texas.
So, this is getting on to the next topic. This is something that I think this is going to be the last time that I put this kind of stuff on here because we don't have time to talk about Boeing unveiled this, or this country got a contract with Colt. We just don't have time for that. So this is going to be the last time I do this. But Boeing unveiled their loyal wingman unmanned combat aerial vehicle to serve as an escort to manned aircraft. Right. So this thing's like a combat UAV, and the purpose of it is to serve as an escort. So let's say you're in an Osprey, right, and you're going to get a down pilot. Right? And Ospreys have garbage armor, no weapons, right? Well, this thing could serve as an escort, and it's unmanned too. So I mean, if it gets shot down, like yeah, sure, you'll have to recover it, but it's not a human pilot getting shot down. It's an unmanned vehicle. So I don't know. That's kind of cool, and I mean, if it works, it's kind of revolutionary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So F-117 Nighthawk bombers were seen flying around Area 51. So the Nighthawk was retired in 2008, but these things were seen flying around Area 51 last week, and there's a rumor going around that they were actually deployed to Syria in 2017. So if these things were retired, then why are they still being deployed?
That's the one with the weird shape, isn't it? The Nighthawk.
Yeah, I mean it's like a Batwing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They only made a handful of those. They didn't make that many.
Really?
Yeah. I watched TV. I think I watched TV on it. They only made a handful of them.
I honestly don't know much about them, but
The Lockheed.
yeah.
He's talking about the
Yeah,
Lockheed,
yeah.
right?
I mean, yeah, if these things retired 11 years ago, then why are they still being deployed, supposedly? That's interesting. And if I see something else on it, I'll just post on Instagram. I'm not going to talk about it on the podcast because we don't have time for that. But in other news, the Navy
Real quick, Nighthawks, only 64 were built, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure they're expensive.
Oh, yeah. That's why there's only 64 of them.
Expensive, yeah. Whew. So, the Navy is set to retire the USS Truman aircraft carrier in several years. That will bring the U.S. carrier fleet to 10. 10 active aircraft carriers. And that is part of the deal that we talked about either in the first podcast or the second. I can't remember.
This is the second
This is
one.
the second?
We talked about those two carriers, I think.
Yeah, so that's part of the deal that just got signed to buy 2 more aircraft carriers, right? So it's kind of like a compromise, I guess. Like, hey, we'll retire this aircraft carrier, save some money, and then we could get those 2 more aircraft carriers down the road. So that is expected to save the Navy $30 billion over many years. They didn't give an estimate as to however long many years is, but yeah, I mean, saving money. U.S. national debt is at over $22 trillion, so I mean, might as well save a buck where you can.
How much is it every day?
What?
The U.S. national debt?
It's a lot.
I mean, it's a lot, dude. I mean, you could look it up on YouTube, or not YouTube. You could look it up on Google, like U.S. national debt clock, and I mean, you could see it going, like a live feed of the national debt just skyrocketing. It's insane.
We're gonna talk about Hamza bin Laden.
Yeah.
That dude was on TV. He was on Mexican news. I was watching it.
For what?
Just about how they
About this?
Saudi Arabia renounced their citizenship. Or something.
They did.
Yeah.
So, as of last week, the U.S. State Department is offering $1 million leading to the capture of Hamza bin Laden. You may recognize that name. Yes, he is Osama's son. He's one of them. So, the U.S. State Department is saying that this guy's an up-and-coming leader in Al-Qaeda, obviously because of the death of his father. Saudi Arabia revoked his citizenship because the State Department is doing this. So, last week, SpaceX tested its Dragon 2 spacecraft with a flight to the International Space Station. So, this is intended to be a manned spacecraft. This test was unmanned, right? They're still going through their tests. Obviously, this is the first one to the International Space Station. So the first manned test is scheduled for July of this year, and I believe NASA astronauts are going to be in that test. But SpaceX intended this to be used with NASA. So astronauts will be using this instead of the space shuttle program like we had before. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish NASA had more funding than they do. They really don't have much now, but I mean, it's cool to see a private company kind of stepping in and taking the reins. I guess good on SpaceX, good on Elon Musk. It's kind of cool. Yeah. So this one I had missed, so we didn't talk about this on the second one because I completely missed it, but we'll talk about it this time because it's kind of important. So the U.S. issued charges against former Air Force Tech Sergeant Monica Witt. So Tech Sergeant Witt was a counterintelligence special agent for the Air Force Office of Special Investigations until 2008. Until 2008, and then after that, she served as a counterintelligence contractor until 2010. They issued charges against her because she traveled to the International Conference on Hollywoodism that's run by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. We talked about them last time. This is in 2012, so this is the conference is basically them just talking shit about America, American morals and the culture and all that, right? So it's pretty much just this big propaganda conference. So she went to this, and she returned back to the U.S. Basically saying that, she converted to Islam, and I guess the students that she was going to school with, her classmates, were saying that, she started wearing burqas, I think it's called. I always get the two confused as a burqa and something else. But anyway, she was like...
I think the burqa is like the full face one. She
was wearing the hijab. Yeah, so they were
one.
saying that she was wearing the hijab and just being like really withdrawn, really quiet, different. So she went around and defected to Iran completely with the help of a U.S.-Iranian dual citizen. So, she defected in 2013, and she's presumably been there since. This is significant because she supposedly gave Iran massive amounts of classified information on U.S. intelligence operations, including the name and activities of a specific intelligence operative. She also prepared target packages for the IRGC to recruit presumably more people like her to defect to Iran and maybe give them more classified information, right? They're presumably trying to build this intelligence network of former U.S. operatives. She is thought to be involved in the questioning of the 10 U.S. Navy sailors that were captured by the Revolutionary Guard Navy in 2016. So that incident with the patrol boat that got captured by Iran. So they think that she had a hand in questioning them.
Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, yeah. So she was charged, but obviously she's not here to get indicted or put on trial or whatever. They believe she is still in Iran, but no one's really sure. Not much has been heard about her since 2016.
What's the punishment for treason?
I mean, you could be killed for treason. That doesn't mean you will, but you can be.
It's pretty serious. Treason.
Yeah. I doubt she's ever gonna get brought back to the U.S. Right?
No, I doubt she's ever coming back.
And the circumstances for her being brought back were, she would either have to surrender herself, which, why would she do that? Or being extradited back to the U.S. and Iran's not going to do that. So if she were to be extradited, she would have to be in some other country that's not Iran. So who really knows? Is she going to get brought back to the U.S.? Probably not. Yeah, I'm willing to bet we'll just never hear anything about her ever again, probably. Yeah, that's pretty significant. So we know of at least one agent that she's already given up. Who knows how much information she's given the IRGC? No one knows. It's a massive security breach.
Treason is like 5 years or more imprisonment. 10,000
up until death.
Yeah, up
Yeah.
until death too. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't have much more to say on that unless you guys do.
No,
No.
we're good. I'm not-
All right, let's move on to Greece. So, the U.S. proposed to the Hellenic Ministry of Defense, which just means Greek, right? They call their, they have the Hellenic Army and the Hellenic Navy. It's just Greece. So the U.S. proposed to the Greek Ministry of Defense to place SOCOM, U.S. Special Operations Command, officers and NCOs within Greek Special Operations units to build interoperability and facilitate training between the two countries. So the operators could come from the 10th Special Forces Group, Green Berets, SEAL Team 5, which has Europe as their area of responsibility, could get Air Force, combat controllers, right? So controlling air assets. You could get PJs, Air Force Pararescue Men, or TACP's Tactical Air Control Party from the 352nd Special Operations Wing, which, as far as I know, is forward deployed to Europe. The operators could go to the Greek Navy's underwater demolition teams. So, presumably, if SEAL Team 5 were to get put with the Greek military, they'd probably go to the UDTs, right? Pretty much the same exact thing that they do. They could go to the Air Force's 31st Special Operations Squadron, or the Army's ZMAC, which is sort of the Army's unit, special ops unit that specializes in amphibious raids, that kind of stuff.
What does ZMAC stand for?
I don't know. It's something in Greek. If you want to look that up, you can.
yeah.
Lastly, they could go to the special parachute section, right? So that's kind of cool. I saw someone talking about this, and they were basically saying that this is kind of happening as the U.S. is starting to realize that Turkey, even though they're a NATO country, they're not exactly a reliable ally. So maybe the U.S. is starting to rely on Greece in that region more, right? Apparently, Greece and the U.S. have a pretty good relationship as far as special forces goes. So yeah. I mean, I think it's a good idea. Good training experience again, building interoperability, right? Facilitating training. God forbid, World War III or something happens with, let's just say Russia, for example, right? And yeah, you got units just all over the place, or units getting wiped out, whatever, and you could place Green Berets with with Greek Special Forces units, and they could work together just as they would in their own respective units. So I think it's a good idea. Not sure if it'll happen, but something to be on the lookout for. What do you think? Good idea?
It's always a good idea to have some kind of military presence in every different countries, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that they're doing this because Turkey isn't necessarily as reliable as they should be?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think?
I mean,
what other countries border Greece anyway, or like Turkey?
they're right. They're like right
you
next to
got-
the Balkans, right?
Huh?
Yeah,
Balkans,
Greece.
yeah.
they're-
You got Macedonia to the north.
Bulgaria and Albania, I guess. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, so I keep looking up ZMAC. It just shows up that like the first raider paratrooper brigade for the Greece. So
Okay.
that's all that comes out of ZMAC.
Interesting.
Yeah, paratroopers.
Okay. I thought I saw something about them being like specializing in like amphibious raids or like landings. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's a different one. It's
Okay, I'm thinking of something else.
yeah, you're thinking of something else.
Okay. Got it.
Starts
That's a good
with
thing.
Yes, there's something like similar, like DDAC or something.
Okay, got it. Well, good thing you looked it up. Yeah, I'm pretty much good on that if you guys are.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Israel real quick. So, more space news. Israel launched the Bereshit. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. So that is Israel's first mission to the moon, with the help of Falcon 9 rocket from SpaceX. So SpaceX doing some cool stuff again, but this is interesting because the project is funded completely from donations.
From
so
who?
From anyone that wants to donate, dude. Right, so no government funding at all. 100%
cool.
from donations. So that's awesome. So the plan is for this spacecraft, whatever it is, to circle around the Earth a couple times to kind of build the momentum for it to make its trip to the moon. If this works, Israel will be the fourth nation to ever land on the moon. And that's awesome. Obviously, the others being the USSR, the US, and China in that order. So, yeah, dude, I mean, that's awesome, dude. More countries getting into space travel. So, the Bereshit is going to land on Mare Serenitatis. I'm sure I said that very incorrectly as well, but whatever. So it's going to land there to gather samples of the surface and study the magnetics in that area. So yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. I don't got much to say about that. Just kind of making a note of it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you want to add?
Israel going to the moon. That's kind of crazy. I mean, they're only like 50 years late after Russia and the U.S.
Well, I mean,
it's
they'll
still
only
pretty
be the fourth nation to do it.
Really, I did not know that. I
Yeah.
kind of figured like more people have gone to the moon. Only just like more nations. At
It's
least. That's pretty
it's
cool.
weird, man.
It's
I mean,
expensive.
space.
Oh,
Yeah, it
of
is
course
expensive.
It is,
But space
yeah.
travel really, I mean, isn't as big as you would think it would be, right?
It really.
Yeah.
I mean, what really launched it was the Cold War. Obviously,
Yeah.
you know, the
It's
Soviets were
motivated
the
by
first
Cold
ones to launch something into space, and
Yeah.
you know, we didn't want to be outdone, so that really
You
really
know,
sparked the space
motivation.
race. And then, you know, when we won the Cold War, I mean, there was no point as far as the government was concerned. You know, well, we won.
Yeah.
You know, who cares?
Didn't Russia send a dog into space? Didn't they do that?
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
They did.
I saw something about them. I guess they took like a couple of AKs up there with them or something, like the first guns in space.
I believe that.
Oh my god, I don't think I've ever heard anything more Russian in my life.
A bottle of vodka and some Kalashnikovs.
Oh my god.
That's fun.
Laika, that's the name of the dog.
Laika, there you
So they
go.
did send a dog into space.
It died though, didn't it?
Amen. Well,
Of course it's dead.
I mean,
now.
I'm sure that was decades ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it died in space.
So
You know what's-
Sputnik 2. That's the name.
Yeah.
Of the name of this.
I mean, I guess this is something to kind of make a note of. It doesn't have anything to do with Israel, but you know, obviously there's that kind of proxy war, I guess, going on between Ukraine and Russia. Kind of, right? I mean, people try and say that Russia isn't involved. If you want to believe that, whatever. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I personally think it's BS, but whatever. You can't deny that tensions are high between Ukraine and Russia, but the Baikonur cosmonaut facility, I forgot what the official name is, but that's where like Russia launches all their space missions out of, and that's in Ukraine. So, you know, obviously, they did that during the days of the Soviet Union, where, you know, borders didn't really matter because Ukraine and Russia, they're both the Soviet Union. But now that tensions between Ukraine and Russia are high, it's kind of something that's interesting to think about. I think Russia's still got a lease on that base for a while. But
So looking at that Laika dog, she died of she ran out of oxygen, and before she actually died, she was euthanized.
oh, she died in space.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
died in space.
Whack.
You were right.
The dog died alone, man. I'm not cool with that.
Wait, they like
No, they euthanized it.
Oh, but was a dog alone in space?
No.
Oh, that's fine with me then. Was a I think I learned about that back in like elementary school.
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. It was in the movie Avengers. Remember? I think when they go see the Collector and he has a dog with the USSR space uniform. You seen that?
In which Avengers?
I think it was. Oh, no, it wasn't Avengers. It was a Marvel. It was Guardians of the Galaxy where they go visit the Collector.
Really?
Yeah, and the dog's there.
It's kind of cool.
That's pretty cool.
All right. I'm pretty much done with that. If you guys are. Yeah. All right. So on the 23rd of February, in Mali, Islamist
Mali, is that
North Africa.
North Africa?
Yeah. Islamic militants attacked U.S. not U.S. UN peacekeeping base, 125 miles north of Kidal. They killed at least eight Chadanian UN peacekeepers. And it sounds like several of the attackers were killed. It kind of sounds like they did like a drive-by sort of thing, but yeah, I mean, dude, I don't get it, man. I mean, UN peacekeepers don't do anything, man. I mean, like, they don't do anything, like, wrong to people. You know, hey, man, if you got your beef with the Americans or the French, whatever, but I mean, UN peacekeepers are there to, like, keep the peace, dude.
125 miles north of Kidal. That's like,
where's that at?
That's like close by Algeria border.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, dude, like, I just don't get it, man. What's the point?
How many UN peacekeepers were killed the last time? Remember? We did a post about it.
Yeah, God. I can't.
It was like,
I can't remember off
10
the
or
top of my
something.
head. That sounds about right. But, and there were Chadanians too, I think. But, yeah, man, I don't get it, dude. Just, like, going out and killing UN peacekeepers. Like, for what?
Probably just send a message to the UN that they're not welcomed, I guess, but...
Yeah, I mean, the UN doesn't do anything to anyone, man.
I know.
I mean, they just guard, like, humanitarian aids.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
And that's another thing, dude. With
These
humanitarian aid, like, you're seeing that in Venezuela. People are, like, lighting the trucks on fire. Like,
all that
dude,
supplies.
that's like food, water, and medicine that, like, you people need. That you can't afford. You need, like, other countries to give it to you, essentially. It makes no sense to me. I don't know, man. The world is a messed up place. Something to think about. So, last week, French special forces announced that they killed the supposedly the second in command for Al-Qaeda and the commander of Jama Nusrat ul-Islam wa Muslim.
Dude, that's a pretty long name for.
Yeah, so I think typically they just go by Nusrat al-Islam, but what's this guy's name? Yaha Abu al-Hama. So he was killed in a raid by French special forces. Also killed in the raid were Abu Lida al-Tunisi, who is the leader of Ansar al-Syria, which is basically Al-Qaeda's branch in Tunisia. And they claimed that Armando Kufa was killed, who is a senior commander in Nusrat al-Islam, and he was the leader of the Messina Liberation Front. So, there's some speculation as to where this happened, right? So, there's some people that thought it was in Libya, just kind of based off thinking that why would these guys be hiding out in, like, Mali? You know, I mean, where obviously the French are there. You know, you got all these nations in Mali basically, like, hunting people like these guys down. So there was speculation that they were hiding in Ubari, Libya, which is basically controlled by Al-Qaeda allied groups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're kind of like left alone from the government. You know, they kind of just do whatever they want. But it sounds like they're actually killed in Mali. So, yeah, I mean, they were in a place where they were least likely to survive, and yeah, they got killed. But Kufa is alive.
It's just weird, like, hearing about these countries that you never even heard of before.
Never heard of Mali before?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm aware of it. It's just like, you know, like, you just hear stories about
and
it.
It's not a country
attack.
like you hear about every day, I guess. So Kufa is actually alive. So the French claim they killed him in a raid. Well, a few days ago, came out with a video of him. He's alive and well. So, did they kill someone that looks like him? Did they injure him? Was he even there in the first place? Did the raid really happen? Did they kill these other two guys? Who knows? Personally, I think the raid did happen and they actually killed those two other guys, because if they didn't, we would see otherwise, just like we are with Kufa. But still, what's the deal with him?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. But, yep, French Special Forces hunting these guys down. Yep, I'm good on that if you guys are.
Yeah.
Alright, let's talk about Democratic Republic of Congo. Just real quick. So, militants burned down Ebola treatment centers last week. So these facilities are owned by Doctors Without Borders, and they suspect the Allied Democratic Forces of Uganda did this. Apparently they have a history of burning down treatment centers like this, and they have ties to Al-Shabaab. Kind of seems like everything that happens, you know, in northern or eastern Africa, man, it's either Al-Shabaab or it's ISIS.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Al-Shabaab, which is allied with ISIS, or Al-Qaeda and their allied groups.
Yeah.
But, dude, like, again, man, who does that, dude?
Like,
Hey, man, you got beef with the Somalian government, whatever, the French, whatever, dude, but, like, you're going down and burning, like, Ebola treatment facilities? Who does that, man?
Human scum, the lowest of dirt.
But, I mean, like, something seriously has to be wrong with you.
yeah.
Jesus, man.
Destroying their own help.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I put this in here because, I mean, one, that's crazy. I cannot think of a reason why someone would do something like that, you know. And
I don't think it's the will of Allah to destroy those
I don't think so either.
Ebola treatment facilities.
Oh my god, dude. Burning down Ebola treatment center.
Yeah, and we talked about this, you know, a little bit first podcast. I'm going to make a connection to it. You know, man, it doesn't matter who you are. You're never 100% safe. You could be with Doctors Without Borders, man, and your treatment facilities are still going to get burned down. And yeah, I mean, they'll probably beat you near to death, if not just kill you outright. I mean, just for being there. So no one's 100% safe. Doesn't matter where you go. I'm good on that if you guys are.
I mean, at this point, these like treatment facilities and these like hostile territories should definitely have some kind of security. People should learn by now.
They should definitely.
Even if,
and I mean, they may have. I really have no idea if they did or not.
They might have some security, but like nothing. Like it won't be that good.
No. Well, I mean, the thing with Doctors Without Borders is, you know, I mean, that's what they do, man. They just like go to, you know, countries like the Congo or Mali or Somalia, dude, and they just treat people. They're not worried about that kind of stuff.
But they should.
You know what I mean? They should be now, especially. But
they got doctors completely pacifist, dude.
I mean, just because you're a pacifist doesn't mean you're not a target.
But it's sad that you have to think like that.
Yeah,
you know
it is definitely sad. But
yeah.
They disregard of safety, dude.
Yeah. So whatever. Let's move on. All right, let's talk about Somalia a little bit. So, U.S. Africa Command dropping bombs on Al-Shabaab, man. As of or since the 22nd of February, U.S. airstrikes have killed at least 80 Al-Shabaab fighters and presumably injured hundreds more. So you've really seen a spike in airstrikes ever since that hotel attack in Kenya by Al-Shabaab, right? And so in retaliation to one of the airstrikes, Al-Shabaab set off a car bomb and a small arms attack in Mogadishu, killing at least 28 people.
Man. One car, some small arms fire.
So it sounds like this was another hotel complex again. So it sounds like they did the same thing they did in Kenya. They set off the car bomb and then they stormed the hotel.
Are they just killing?
I figured they would do it like in a marketplace, you know.
They just go around killing innocent people at this point, or
yeah. I mean that's what they.
There's no target at all.
There's no target. There's no program.
No, they just like this hotel.
It's just like a mass shooting to them, pretty much.
Yeah. It's open season on everyone, man. They don't care. They do not care. So I think I saw as of this year, the U.S. has launched 22 or 23 airstrikes against Al-Shabaab. So, yeah, really ramping it up. Yeah, obviously helping out the Somali government with these airstrikes, and yeah, I'm good on that. If you guys are.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. All right, we got more space news out of Japan. So the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, so pretty much their NASA, landed the Hayabusa 2 space probe on the asteroid Ryugu. So it sounds like that was for the same purposes as Israel's spacecraft, right? So it's gonna collect samples of the ground, pretty much, and like analyze that. So yeah, it's kind of cool, man. More countries making moves in space. It's pretty sweet.
You're telling me Japan's never been to the moon?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Yeah, not too many countries do like space exploration and stuff, man.
I mean, you never really hear about it on the news either. So
That's because no one does it, pretty much.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks. But yeah, I just wanted to make a mention of that. It's kind of cool. I'm good on that. If you guys are, I assume you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Ooh, let's talk about Korea. So I'll start off with this first. There have been reports going around that North Korean soldiers are being granted leave to scavenge for food, and apparently they're going around raiding homes on the border to, steal food and water and supplies.
From South Korea?
No, from like North Korean civilians, man. They're like raiding homes. So.
Yeah.
People don't have food or water. I mean, I don't know.
Hey, amen. I'm sure it's worse than the situation in Venezuela, right? But I mean, kind of the same thing you're seeing, man. These soldiers are not immune, man.
I mean,
you got junior enlisted NCOs, junior officers. Hey, man, they're feeling the pain just as anyone else.
North Korea too. You don't know most of the stuff that's going on over there. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean you
pretty
pretty much have to rely on the word of all the defectors.
Have you heard the stories of these defectors?
Oh yeah,
It's some sad stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, there was that dude that was at the State of the Union last year that got, I think he lost either one leg or both legs.
I don't know.
It may have been both. I can't remember. But yeah, he was like, like taking, like grains of corn, and then he this guy was so malnourished he passed out on the train tracks, and he woke up to like his legs being ran over by a train. Yeah. So yeah, I mean the stories of some of these people that are able to leave North Korea and make it to China or South Korea or the U.S. are insane.
There was you seen that video that that military defector from North Korea? The video, he's like driving and he's like running, and I think they kill him, and South Koreans like recover his body, and they like did a autopsy, I guess, and they found like so many diseases in him. Like even the soldiers are malnourished and everything, like with diseases and everything, parasites and whatnot.
Yeah, man. Well, they did
and we over here get mad when we don't get that Chili Mac mRNA.
I saw something. It might have been the guy who was at the State of the Union. I can't remember, but basically they like examined a defector that came over, and I mean the only thing this guy had in his stomach was like a few grains of corn and like worms.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's scary. So, obviously a few days ago we had the second summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un. This one was in Hanoi, Vietnam, and it lasted from the 27th to the 28th of last month. So, obviously they were there to, discuss sanctions against North Korea and like denuclearization. Trump walked away from the meeting because Kim apparently was asking for the sanctions to be removed without really making a commitment to getting rid of all his nukes. So Trump just left. So yeah, I don't know. There wasn't a lot of press access. Actually, there's no press access with that meeting. It was just them and their interpreter. So yeah, I don't know. Will there be another summit between Trump and Kim Jong-un?
The last meeting wasn't good, huh?
Yeah, I mean this one wasn't, right? So the first one was okay, I guess. I mean, I think it was just the first one was kind of just there to like set a precedent. You know what I mean? And yeah, the second one didn't do so well. So. One thing that's interesting, so they did like a little press conference before the official summit, right? Trump and Kim Jong-un, and Kim actually answered a question from an American journalist, which he's never answered a question from a foreign journalist before. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know if it's really like significant as far as having any influence on what happened with the summit, but I mean it's interesting. Yeah, he said he was he was hopeful and he was optimistic and blah 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 whatever. But yeah, obviously nothing came of it. So a couple days after that, the U.S. and South Korea announced that the Foil, Eagle, and Key Resolve exercises are no longer going to be held yearly. So these are like the two big annual exercises that the U.S. and the South Korean military do, right? And yeah, it's not going to happen every year now. It sounds like they're going to be consolidated into smaller exercises, like small unit tactics, that kind of stuff. And this happened after the summit, so yeah, I mean, is this in response to the summit? Yeah, probably. But why? If Trump walked away from the summit, no arrangements were made, then why change up these exercises so much, Alright, so last week the U.S. Navy and British Royal Marines from Juliet Company 45 Commando conducted visit board search and seizure training on the USNS Guadalupe in the South China Sea in defiance of China's claims of sovereignty in the sea. So China pretty much claims all, if not, or most, if not all, of the South China Sea as their waters. So we talked about this on, I want to say, both podcasts, kind of us like sailing ships through the Strait of Taiwan and, just kind of messing with China just to show them that we really don't care about their claims of sovereignty. It doesn't hold a lot of weight. So the People's Liberation Army, so the Chinese army, started soliciting pitches for companies to develop a magnetized plasma artillery system capable of firing projectiles at Mach 6. So Chinese cyber capabilities are as good, if not better than ours, depending on who you ask, but their equipment is inferior to ours. So I'm talking tanks, self-propelled artillery, their navy, small arms. I mean, pretty much all of their physical equipment is inferior to ours, but now they're looking at a self-propelled howitzer that fires Mach 6. So, yeah, that's insane. Maybe if they do end up getting something like that could level the playing field, but, they just solicited pitches for companies to develop it. It doesn't really mean anything until they start getting prototypes out there, if they ever do.
So like a railgun, right? Basically.
Essentially, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, if they do end up getting prototypes, I mean, they're going to be testing that thing for decades, right? The Navy is still testing their railgun. I doubt the Navy's ever actually confirmed that they're testing the railgun, but everyone knows they are. You know what I mean? That's pretty much common knowledge at this point. But yeah, again, China, if they ever do get that tech, it won't be for at least a couple decades, and I think that's being modest. And honestly, I mean, at that point, we'll probably have them before they do. So I'm good on that if you guys are. All right, let's talk about India. We'll talk about Pakistan a little bit. All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about what's going on with India and Pakistan. So last episode we talked about the bombing by Jaish-e-Mohammed, which is a terrorist group on the Pakistani side of Kashmir. Right, they killed at least 40 Indian soldiers, wounded about 70 others. So on the 26th, the Indian Air Force launched airstrikes on Jaish-e-Mohammed in Balakot, which is on the Pakistani side of Kashmir. India claimed they killed 350 fighters. Pakistan claims they killed none. Pakistan didn't like that. On the 26th and 27th, there were reports of small arms and mortar fire being exchanged across the line of control, the LOC, which is what separates Indian Kashmir from Pakistani Kashmir, right? So there was reports of some casualties on those days. On the 27th, later that day, the Pakistani Air Force launched strikes on 6 non-military targets to send a message to India. And when I say non-military, I don't mean civilian targets. It sounds like they kind of just chose random fields to drop bombs on, right? But they did that to send a message. So India responded to that. The Pakistani Air Force claimed that it shot down 2 Indian MiG-21s, capturing 1 pilot by the name of Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman, which, yeah, I know I butchered. So, that wing commander was actually released on the 1st of this month, so it was Friday, this past Friday. So he's released on Friday as a gesture of good faith from Pakistan, but India claims to have shot down one F-16 and one Pakistani drone from those Pakistani Air Force strikes that were launched. Pakistan denies those claims, and it doesn't sound like India's shown concrete proof of that F-16 being shot down. On the 1st of this month, so Friday again, late Friday night, there was shelling and small arms fire between Indian and Pakistani troops across the LOC. So there were casualties reported for that. So far, with this new round of tensions, we got 2 Pakistani army killed, between 10 and 12 Pakistani civilians dead, 4 Indian civilians dead. For wounded, we got between 5 and 10 Indian army, and some people are including those Central Reserve Police Force officers that were killed in that suicide bombing, the one that we talked about last time, and they're also counting the 350 fighters that may have been killed by India. So, I think on the Instagram post, I claimed that they have gone to war 3 times prior. They've actually gone to war 4 times. So, and both nations have nukes. That is important. So, this shelling, latest round of shelling happened after that pilot was released. So it doesn't sound like tensions are really dying down just yet, or at least where they need to be comfortably. It sounds like as of today, they just started resuming train service between India and Pakistan. So they shut down air travel and they shut down train service, I guess, when these tensions started heating up. But maybe things are moving in the right direction. I guess we'll find out. We'll keep you guys updated, of course. I guess the main question most people are going to ask is, are India and Pakistan going to go to war? Maybe, probably not. They have gone to war 4 times before. I don't know. I think if they were going to go to war over this, they would have done it already. You know what I mean? Like I said, train service is back between the 2 countries, and tensions are dying down a little bit, maybe, but you still do have that cross-border shelling and small arms fire that's going on. But I don't think they're going to go to war over this. I think they would have done it already. What do you think?
At this point, they're already at war, man.
They're already at war?
I think so. There's so many people dead, all this stuff going on. I mean, they just haven't just have to declare it, I guess.
If they are technically at war, are they gonna continuously be shooting at each other, or is there gonna be lulls in the fighting?
I have no idea. Guess we'll find out. But at this point, I see it kind of like a declaration of war, shooting each other's planes down and whatnot, and they live right next to each other, the countries.
Yeah.
I guess.
I feel like they should just fight over Kashmir, that one place. It's like.
Is that what they're fighting over? I have no idea what they're fighting over.
That's where the main set of tensions come from, right? The Kashmir region, that was kind of partitioned between the 2 of them when they both gained independence from the UK. So it sounds like most people in Kashmir would either have the entire region be independent or be a part of Pakistan. That's what it sounds like most people in Kashmir are saying. So obviously, India has part of Kashmir that was given to them during their independence, and then Pakistan has part of Kashmir that was given to them during their independence. But both countries have kind of bridged the gap, right? Because there was a gap in the middle. I don't know if you want to call it a demilitarized zone, but like a gap that wasn't necessarily given to either country, but they filled that gap, and yeah, there's a hard border between the two of them, but both countries claim the entirety of Kashmir, so they don't recognize the split. India claims all of it, Pakistan claims all of it. Do you think they're gonna go to war, Magna?
I feel like it's like the same. It's gonna be the same with like with the Russian, like between Ukraine too. You know, they're just fighting over lands. Same thing with Israel. You know, the one Golan Heights, the region.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, they're just fighting that small piece of about a small piece of land.
I think this kind of thing is gonna keep happening over the years. You know, where some police officers get killed, right, in India or Pakistan. It could be vice versa. Launches airstrikes. Maybe they shoot down a plane or two. They return the pilot, and that's kind of it until the next round happens. Another question that people are gonna ask, which I think is easier to answer, is, are they gonna go to nuclear war over this? It's possible. Are they going to? I mean, you could almost certainly say no, right?
I think one.
So for anyone that doesn't know, nukes have only been used in war twice, right? And those were both in August 1945 by us against Japan. Nukes have not been used in war since then. I could almost certainly say that they're not going to launch nukes at each other.
Nah.
Not over this.
Nah.
I mean, again, you can't rule it out 100%, right? Because you never know, but yeah, I mean, 99.9% chance.
It's just going to be like Golan Heights in Israel, dude. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assume you feel the same way.
Yeah, nah, they want to take it. There's no need for that, to go that extreme.
Yeah. I'm pretty much good on that. If you guys are. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll finish up today talking about Syria, so I'll condense this down a little bit. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Obviously, in the news, you have a couple of wives of ISIS fighters in the news, right, that are trying to go back to their home country. So you obviously have the lady that is from Alabama, who married two ISIS fighters. Both of them killed and had a child with one, and she's trying to come back to Alabama. And then you have the one from England who married an ISIS fighter who surrendered to the SDF, and they have a kid together, and she is trying to go back to the UK, and her husband is trying to get them to go to back to the Netherlands, because that's where he is from. So I'm not going to go into too much detail of it just for time's sake, but this is a problem we're going to start having, is with foreign fighters that get captured by the SDF. They're going to want to go home, and the same thing with their families. People that fled the UK or fled the US or Germany or whatever are going to want to go home. Yeah. And that's going to be a challenge for the countries that they want to go back to. Right? Are they gonna revoke their citizenship or whatever and just leave them in refugee camps, or are they gonna let them home and have to deal with the potential threat that these people pose? Or are they just gonna lock them up in prison for the rest of their lives? Obviously, it's going to be a case-by-case basis, but that's going to be a problem going forward. All right. So France and the UK have denied a U.S. request to keep troops in the country after a full U.S. withdrawal. So this was before Trump allowed or agreed to keep 400 troops in the country, right? So there was some negotiations going on between other countries and obviously with his administration. So recently, after France and UK denied this request to keep troops, Trump agreed to keep 400 troops in the company. I think 200 in Al-Tanf in southeast Syria, and then 200 in northeast Syria with the SDF. And now that he agreed with this, the U.S. is trying to negotiate with other allied nations to keep a little peacekeeping force there, totaling about 1,500 all over the country. All right. On the 22nd, the IRGC, back in the news again, the IRGC Aerospace Force Brigadier General Amir Ali Hajizadeh claimed that Iran took control of 7 or 8 U.S. drones over Syria and downloaded all the data from those drones. So they released a video of like drone footage, but yeah, I mean, you can't really say 100% sure that A, those were U.S. drones, and B, those were drones that they had taken control of. There's no real definitive proof on that. If that is true, that's a big problem, right? Obviously, a lot of countries are starting to rely on drones more, right? Like we talked about Boeing with the unmanned escort drone, right?
Yeah.
Hey man, if Iran could get a hold of that, they could do a lot of damage, you know what I mean? It's blue on blue to the max. So, yeah, hopefully that isn't true, but guess we'll see going forward. Alright, so there are reports going around, and these reports are coming from multiple Kurdish and Syrian news outlets claiming that the U.S. is transferring 50 tons of gold seized from ISIS back to the U.S. And apparently they're sharing some of this with the SDF as well. There's no proof to confirm those claims, but yeah, I mean that's kind of weird. Yeah.
That's a lot of gold. I saw an article on that like a week ago or a few days ago, I think, saying that the U.S. Army made a deal with ISIS for like 40 tons of gold. I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, dude, you see a lot of these reports going around, like U.S. military, ferrying ISIS fighters to Black Ops. Like, there's never no proof to confirm any of these claims, dude. So. Yeah, just put it out there so people are aware that the claims are being made, but yeah, there's no confirmation or corroboration at all. Nothing.
50 tons of gold.
It's a lot of gold.
That'll drop the gold market, I think. I don't know.
So on the 2nd this month, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, their fact-finding mission that was investigating the April 7th chemical attack, the one that we launched airstrikes in response of, determined that chlorine gas was used in that chemical attack, but they did not assign blame on anyone. Right, so a lot of people are saying that Assad and his government did it. Some people are saying that rebel groups did it to provoke a U.S. response. And yeah, the OPCW, confirmed that the gas was used, but didn't assign any of the blame. So, yeah, who really knows what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? So, the Battle of Baghouz, which is the last ISIS stronghold east of the Euphrates River, is still going on. We talked about that a little bit.
Baghouz, that's by the border, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's right by the Iraqi border, and then it's on like the eastern bank of the Euphrates River. So the final assault was launched on this past Friday, so the 1st of March. the assault was paused because they were like letting ISIS fighters, surrender, and they were letting civilians get out of the city. But now the final assault's on, so the SDF is backed by U.S., British, and French air power, artillery, and special forces, as well as Iraqi PMU, the Popular Mobilization Unit. So all those Shia militias like KH and all those guys are crossing the border and supporting. And the Syrian government is camping out on the western bank of the Euphrates because these ISIS fighters are like fleeing over the river and they're just getting gunned down by the Syrian army on the western bank of the Euphrates. So these guys they're circled in, they're trapped. You either surrender or you're gonna get killed.
Like the other day, recently, there's like hundreds of them surrendering by hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are trapped, dude. They're not going anywhere. You either surrender or die, man. I mean, they're surrounded on all sides. Yeah, they got nowhere else to go.
They move up north. The Kurds they're gonna encounter Kurds.
Oh, I mean, they got Kurds to the north and the west, right? They got Iraqi Shia militias to the east, and they got Syrian Arab Army to the south. I mean, there's nowhere left for them to go. This is it. Yeah. So, there was a report recently released that Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 112 spent 1,200 combat hours flying air support in Iraq and Syria with the F-35B. So that is significant because this is a major deployment for the F-35B, right? The program had a lot of trouble getting on track. Obviously, it was going over budget, and the aircraft was having a lot of problems. But now it sounds like it's fully operational, man, and it's conducting close air support in Iraq and Syria. So that's actually not the first combat mission for U.S. F-35s. So that fighter squadron earlier in deployment was actually launching airstrikes in Afghanistan in support of the coalition and Afghan forces over there. And then it sounds like they went to Iraq and Syria after that, conducted 1,200 combat hours of air support in Iraq and Syria. So, hey, that's awesome. F-35B is gaining a name for itself. So the first combat use of the F-35 was actually by the Israelis. So the Israelis have their own special variant, the F-35I, and they were the first ones to actually use it in combat in Syria against Iranian targets. And that was about a year ago, I want to say. Yeah, F-35 gaining a reputation for itself.
Then they said the F-35 was supposed to
F-35 is the
replace
reason why F-117s got retired in 2008.
From?
Yeah.
They said that they said the F-35 is going to replace the A-10s for like ground combat. I think.
I think they've talked about that a little bit. I mean, I think that's an awful idea.
Because
F-117
is expensive.
In theory, the F-35 is a joint strike fighter to multi-role aircraft, right? So it can be used as a bomb or close air support or as a fighter jet. So yeah, man. That's pretty much all I got. Unless you guys got anything else.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Good on that.
All right.
What time is it? That's the real question.
Yeah, it's 1:07. Yeah. So, that's all we got for this week, guys. If you like this, drop a like on YouTube, share it, subscribe, whatever. Tell us what you guys like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us what you want to see. Thank you for all the support and stay tuned for for next week. Thanks.